Welcome to our next episode of interview experienced by I Love Metallurgy. I, Shivam Kumar Misra, from second year Metallurgical and Materials Engineering. Today we have a special guest with us, Neha ma'am, from 2018 Metallurgical and Materials Engineering. And she recently got placed in Cognizant. So firstly, congratulations ma'am for your great achievement.
Thank you.
Ma'am, today we will be discussing about your journey, the path you followed and ended up in such a big company. And again, ma'am, thank you for your valuable time.
This is my pleasure. No problem.
Ma'am, the first question comes in my mind, like, how does it feel after getting placed in such a giant company with such a nice CTC? Ma'am, what's your first reaction about after getting placed?
See, definitely I'm overwhelmed with this because I did not expect. Just I followed the process and I got this. So I'm very happy.
Yes. Okay, ma'am. So I'd like to start from the very beginning, or we can say that from the scratch. That firstly, ma'am, could you please tell us about your job role in your company?
Okay, so the role offered is associate developer role. It is mainly related to front-end works. So we'll work with some programming languages like Java, React.js, and Python, and many more.
Okay, ma'am, like what are the resources you followed to get into the non-core studies or like in the non-core sector?
Yeah, so finding the resources is the most difficult job. Coming from core background and now I'm converting to non-core, it is very difficult to find the resources. So initially I had difficult time, but slowly I tried to find out some more resources. And for the courses which I need to learn, I followed YouTube for Microsoft Excel, and for Python and SQL, I followed Udemy courses. Okay. And for the aptitude section, I followed the CareerRight website. So these are my resources.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Ma'am, my next question is that could you please tell us that despite of having a core background, like how challenging it was for you to get placed in a non-core company, or we say that how challenging it was for you to switch over the non-core sector?
Yeah, for me it was very difficult because since we are coming from a core background, we'll have some knowledge about our core sector, but for the non-core sector, we have to start from scratch. Even we don't know how to start and where to stop also. Even if we get some resources, suppose for example, if we take Python, we don't know how to start and how to proceed with that and where to end. So it was very difficult for me. But slowly I tried to gather the resources and I tried to learn on my own. So definitely it will be a tough journey. But we can come through it. If we learn properly, we can come through it.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. My next question is that could you tell us that at the beginning of your engineering, like in first year or in second year, what's your state of mind that whether you want to go with the core sector or you have or you earlier decided that no, I have to focus completely on non-core sector?
No, not at all. Because I want to go to core sector only.
Okay.
I like to learn metallurgy related topics. But due to these online classes and I could not follow the classes. So I lost interest somewhere. But up to third year, I wanted to go to a core sector only. So at the end of the third year, I decided to come to this non-core sector.
Okay. Ma'am, now if we talk about the selection procedure, ma'am, can you please tell us about the selection procedure of your company and how many rounds for it were conducted? Like,
okay, firstly, there were 4 rounds. The first round was CV shortlisting. So after the CV shortlisting, we'll have a test, online test. And this test consisted of 3 sections. The first 2 sections were related to programming, like we have to write the codes. The first section was like medium coding, but the second section was a little bit hard. So I managed to do the medium part, but that hard ones I did not do. I tried to do. Then the third section was related to database, like SQL. Since I learned SQL, so it was easier for me to do the queries and all. This is the second step. And the third step is a technical interview. And the fourth step is a HR round.
Achha, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, which language is most prepared for this post like you have applied, and what was the level of coding questions like?
Actually, during the start of my journey, I wanted to prepare for analytics sector. So I learned SQL and Python. But in this journey, for the software roles also, with this we can get through the company. After joining, I think we can learn according to me. So I learned SQL and Python. But during the HR discussion, the HR also suggested me to learn Java and React.js so that it could help me in the journey of the company. So with Python and SQL, I went to the interview round.
Okay, ma'am. So, like, how can we reach up to that level? Like for the juniors, it's a question from juniors that how we can reach up to that level.
Which level to the interview?
Like yes, ma'am. How to?
If I had to tell, I learned the basics, the basic parts.
Yes,
like,
ma'am.
I came to know that SQL and Python will be important, and mostly they will be asked in the interviews. So I tried to learn these two. Like starting from the resources, I selected few of the resources. I started to learn them from basics. Since we are from core sector, we have to learn from scratch.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I started to learn very basic ones, basic terms. So slowly I got acquainted with those and I got through this.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, could you please share your interview experience, like when you are in the interview section?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a very nervous person. So I did not have the confidence. I did not have the confidence to clear that. But somehow I know I can do the technical part. So since I have learned, I can answer them. So when I went into that interview, he asked me to tell about myself. So the main factor is this one. With this part, we can change the entire interview. Like if we mention if we highlight our important points, like what we know, the projects and all, then definitely the interview will be changed according to us. So I mentioned my skills, what I have learned and what I have did. So he asked me only the questions related to my skills, what I know. So starting, he asked me few basic Python coding questions, like not coding. It was very basic, like palindrome number, and it was reversing a string. So they were very basic. So he asked me to write a code. I have written the code, and it was okay. He asked me to get some outputs. I did that one. And the second part was queries. He asked me to write queries of SQL. He gave me 2 questions, and I wrote the queries. Then some few aptitude questions. So the entire interview was good.
Yes. Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, it's yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the HR round was only document verification round. Only the technical round was questions were asked in this technical round.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, communication. How you see that? How communication skills plays an important role in the selection procedure?
Yeah, like this is the main factor. Yeah, yes, this is the main factor because this can also change the interview round. Even though also apart from the communication skills, confidence is also important. See, for me, if you take my case, I can speak well. Definitely, I can speak even the basic. I can speak basic ones, but I don't have enough confidence. So when we lack confidence, we don't even speak what we know. So definitely, communication definitely plays an important role because it can change the whole scenario of the interview.
Okay.
Also,
yes, ma'am.
There is no need to take tension that you're not good at communication skills. Definitely, you can improve it from one interview to another interview.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Ma'am, tell us about how you balance your academics and your non-core studies. Like, you have to very focus on academics too for the CG and SCJOB. Like that.
See, since we are in this online classes journey,
it
was not a difficult part. Definitely, you're also experiencing
obviously.
So I had a lot of time to prepare for ourselves. So after the online classes, I got enough time to prepare.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. The next question is that does these companies like Cognizant and any other software companies requires any internship before applying? Like any person who has an internship in earlier year, does they give them an edge for their selection?
Definitely, but specifically they will not mention that you need to have an internship, but definitely it will give an edge over the others. See, as I told in the first question about your introduction, it can change the whole scenario. So if you are having some internship experience or some projects, so it will definitely help you to move through the interview. Sometimes the whole interview can only base upon your project or your internship. So the entire scenario will change.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, could you tell us that this CGPA, the role of CGPA plays an important role in anyone's campus placement? Like, we know that the criteria of eligibility criteria that you have to be minimum 7.5 CG. But
Yes.
if a person having a 9 CG and if a person having a 8 CG, but there is a difference between their skills. Like, person
Yes,
having an
yes,
8
yes.
CG has more skills than compared to 9 CG.
Mm.
What was going on the mind of what was going over the interview session? Like, interviewer wants to ask or want to select which one?
Okay, as far as I have observed, it does not play a good role in interview. Like,
Okay.
up to eligibility criteria, definitely it will play a role. So if you are not having enough CG, then you cannot go into the further round. So
Yes, ma'am.
at that part, definitely it will play a good role. But as far as I have experienced, if you have greater CG, like suppose if you're having 8.5 or 9, and you don't want to go to core sector, maybe it can help in the core sector, but you want to go to
Yes, ma'am.
non-core sector, then definitely they can ask some metallurgy related questions. So
Okay.
you may
Oh,
or may not
acha.
answer.
Okay,
So
okay, ma'am.
this can become a negative to you because from core you want to go to non-core. I don't know about the positives, but as far as I have experienced, if you have a very great CG or good CG, then from core sector you're going into non-core sector, then it will definitely be difficult for you in some interviews, not in all, because they can ask metallurgy related questions. So
Oh, yes,
since we
ma'am.
are preparing for non-core sector, we may not answer the metallurgy related questions. So in such
Yes.
cases, it would be negative.
Ma'am, could you tell us the strategies you adopted? Like, you have earlier said that you go for YouTube channels, you go for Udemy classes, but you have to manage or you have to balance all things. You can't just go up with randomly. So how you manage these different courses? Like,
See, honestly speaking, I did not have any strategy because I was very confused. I was very confused because I did not even understand how can I move from core to non-core. It was very difficult for me. So I did not have any particular strategy. But I can say that my journey has made me learn everything. So from the first rejection to this Cognizant company, I learned
selection.
through the process. Yes, I learned through this process only. At the start, I did not have any strategy or any plan. Firstly, I know that we have to learn these few languages. That's it. So through this journey, I understood at each and every step. I came to know what I should do and what I should not do. From my first rejection, it was definitely a learning for me.
Okay, ma'am. Like, from your side, I understand that you have to be very focused on the basics and the process you
Yes,
are doing,
yes, yes, yes.
isn't it, no, ma'am?
Here I also want to mention something like
Yes, ma'am.
when we are learning courses, no? So apart from practical, we should also be theoretically enough because in the interviews they're asking also theory based questions like some definitions and all. When we are practicing, we don't focus on definitions, etc. Just we'll learn the practical part. And for example, if we take SQL, then we'll practice the practical part we'll practice, and then we'll do the queries and all. But in most of the cases, they're asking theoretical questions also. Like we have to learn the definitions. I have to be clear about
Yes,
the
ma'am.
definitions. So this is very important. So you can get through Google only some top questions and all. You
Yes,
can
ma'am.
learn from there. This is very
Yes.
important.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, so we are in the final segment of this interview.
Okay.
Please share some tips or strategies. As you mentioned, there is no strategies you have applied, but for the juniors, for us only, that which we keep in mind, and also those who want to get into this sector. Like, we all are in second years. We talked with so many with our friends. I talked with so many with our friends. Like, they told that they are so much confused whether they want to go with core, whether they want to go
Yes.
with data analytics or coding, and finance, like core or non-core. So what's the correct time to decide that thing and go with the flow with any one
See,
sector?
okay. Okay. I may not have a strategy,
Okay,
But
yes, ma'am.
I think that better than the strategy, the failures will give us better lessons. See,
Yes,
even though
ma'am.
I did not have a strategy, I learned from every rejection. So this
Hmm.
journey will definitely teach you a lot. If I
Okay,
have
ma'am.
to give some suggestions, firstly, about the resources part, you have to keep your
Hmm.
resources limited. Firstly, when you
Okay.
want to, whether it is core or non-core, it will entirely depend on you. Whether
Yes,
it is
ma'am.
core or non-core, you have to have a clear roadmap. Not about the strategy or plan, but you have to have some resources. You should not go into different resources. So you should not keep numerous resources. You have to keep your resources limited so that this will
Mm-hmm.
help you during the time of revision. If you
Yes,
have
ma'am.
for a particular subject, if you will have some two or three, four to five resources, then it will definitely be a negative one for you because you cannot revise it properly.
Hmm.
So first suggestion is that you should keep your resources limited. And secondly, during the time of interviews, even if one or two questions are missed by you, so if you do not answer one or two questions, don't be tensed because that the whole interview will not depend on that particular question only. So it will also check the other questions also. They will check the other questions also. So
Yes,
even if
ma'am.
you do not answer one or two questions, don't be tensed, and definitely one can get through with the remaining part of the interview. Yes,
Hmm.
this is the second part. And be patient and perseverant. That's it. If when your friends or peers are getting placed, don't be tensed why you're not
Ah,
going through that. See,
yes, ma'am.
for me, I was depressed literally because I could not understand whether I'm doing wrong or why I could not get through a particular company. At this time, definitely your suggestions from seniors will help you. Take suggestions
Yes,
from
ma'am.
them. Ask your friends about their interview experiences, whether they can be selected or not. But try to ask the interview experiences from them. So that will definitely help you. That's it. Be
Okay,
patient.
ma'am. Like you have in interview, is they ask you about guesstimate or puzzles question like that? Guesstimates
Yes, but
and or puzzle.
yeah, they will. That will play a good role in analytics part. But since this is a
Okay.
software role, they did not ask any guesstimates or puzzles. But it is
Okay.
good to prepare the puzzles. See, in Geeks for
Mhm.
Geeks, if you want to learn
Yes, ma'am.
puzzles, Geeks for Geeks contains puzzles. So most of the puzzles were being asked from that only. As far as I came to know, see, I contacted my friends and I came to know that most of the puzzles were being asked from that. So you can learn from that.
So, ma'am, last question, ma'am.
No problem.
Ma'am, what are the things, ma'am, in interview session,
Mhm.
what is going on your mind? Like you have to be very honest with your answer, or you
Yes.
have to focus on selection. Like if any
Mm.
type of situation is in front of you, that whether
Mm.
you want to be very honest with that, and you know that if you give an honest answer, then it's been a negative point in your selection. So at that time, is it fair enough to give a honest answer or give a fake answer?
I have only a diplomatic answer for this.
Oh,
See,
diplomatic.
both
Okay.
both are important because
Yes,
in
ma'am.
few of the questions you should be honest and few
Hmm.
questions. But according to me, I wanted to be honest. Like if we take about the weakness part, as I have told you,
Hmm.
I'm a very nervous person. So when they asked me about the weaknesses, I clearly mentioned that I'm a nervous person. But I have also mentioned the journey, how I have changed, like from each
Hmm.
interview, how I came through and how I improved myself. So I gave them some reasons and the process, how I changed and how I evolved as a person.
Yes, ma'am.
So even if we give a negative aspect of us, we have to justify ourselves, like we will change or we have changed till now in the process.
Hmm.
So definitely both are necessary, but according to me, I want to be honest. That's it.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, thank you so much. It was a great experience to for me also personally to have a chat with
Okay.
you, and I
Hmm.
also learned so many basic things. Like you
Yeah,
have to be
okay.
very focused on the process as
Hmm.
compared to the strategies and all. Like
Yes,
you have to
definitely.
very.
According to me,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is necessary because than the strategy. For me, it worked. Even I,
Yes, ma'am.
at the initial stage, even I thought that most of the people are having some plans and strategies and how to go through that and all. But I did not have anything. Just I
But
trust the process. That's it.
like,
Sometimes quotes
ma'am.
do work.
Yes, ma'am. So, like, ma'am, you have to, but you said that you have to know the roadmap, like what you
Yes,
want
yes.
to do.
Yes, yes. That roadmap does
Yes.
not mean a strategy. Just I
No,
wanted
no,
you to tell
no.
that you should know whether you want to go to a data analytics side or software
Mhm.
side. So if you want to go to both, then it is okay. This is the roadmap. See, you are having those two in mind. Then you will check the resources. So what all you have to learn. You can ask them from your seniors also. So you'll have in mind that these are the programming languages I should learn. Then you'll get to the resources which are better, and then limit your resources. And then how to go through that. First, what you'll learn, how you'll revise. That is the roadmap which I was telling.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope our all viewers and the juniors from side of juniors, they will be very benefited from this session and learn so many basics things from you.
Yes.
And thank you for your valuable time, ma'am.